Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to our webinar. This is Mary Gregory, Director of Danbury Schools and Business Collaborative, and welcome to our webinar on goal setting. We're very excited to be able to present this topic to our mentors. We have presented a similar topic in our workshop live setting before, and the information is very helpful for mentors when they're working with their students. So some of the goals that our presenter is going to talk about really is the process of how to go about setting goals. And as a mentor, the goals that you'll be setting with your mentee will vary depending on the child's age, depending on why the child is referred for a mentor, and finally as your relationship evolves. So without further ado, I would like to introduce today's presenter, Michele MacKinnon, as Vice President of Leadership and Professional Development with Union Savings Bank. Michele is a wonderful supporter of DSABC mentoring program, and we welcome Michele. Thank you so much for volunteering to present this information for our mentors today.
Thank you so much, Mary. It's really nice to be able to participate in your program again and to have this opportunity to speak with all of your terrific mentors. I really commend everyone in our listening audience for taking time out of your busy schedules and working with students at Danbury Schools. I think it's a terrific reflection on you as an individual to help students succeed. For today's webinar, if you've attended webinars in the past, either with Danbury Schools or maybe through other situations in the business world or in your personal life, you might have found that the webinar presenters used polling slides to help engage you during the presentation so that you don't just sit there and listen to us talking the whole time. So we're going to have 4 different polling slides today during our presentation, and we're going to have one coming up in just a minute. And the polling slides are just basically a list of questions or choices. Sometimes you can make multiple choices. Hey, it's like being back in school, right? Multiple choice. Sometimes you'll be limited to one choice. But we'll tell you when those polling slides are coming up so that you can get your fingers on your mouse and get ready to click your choice or choices on those polling slides. So just to help me get to know all of you a bit better, we've got a polling slide coming up right now. So please click on the different choices that would apply to you. Are you a resident of Danbury? How long have you been a DSABC mentor? And are you excited when you see your students that you're mentoring succeed? Please click on the choices that apply to you. We're going to close the slide in just a minute. We wanted you all to have a chance to vote your choices. Okay, we're seeing some different selections being made now. We'll give you just one more second to vote your choice, and we're going to close the poll now in 3, 2, and 1. Okay, wow, 50% of our mentors have been providing this service to Danbury Schools in this volunteer activity for 5 years or more. But we also have some new mentors, participating in the program, and that's always great to see as well because it's such an important program. I can't think of a more beneficial thing to do than to help our students succeed because they are the future of our world. So thank you for taking the time to vote there. We'll have another slide coming up in just a minute. But let's talk about, for a minute now, let's just talk about what we're going to cover in today's time and in the session today. So here's our agenda. We're going to talk about what are goals and why do we need them. And as Mary mentioned in her opening comments, We're going to talk a little bit about the process of setting goals. If maybe you have a goal in mind for yourself about your relationship with your mentee, but also your students might come to you and maybe during a conversation it becomes evident that they might benefit from having a written goal for the work that you're doing with them or in some other aspect of their student life. And then after we talk about that little process that you can use to help set goals, we'll have our wrap up. But more importantly, we're going to have some fun today. So again, to help me know you better, we have another polling question. So get your fingers ready to vote again, because we have another polling question coming up. We want to see how you're using goal setting in your own lives. And please don't think that there's going to be a test later or anything like that. Just go ahead and click here on this next polling slide about what you think the definition of a goal is. And like many things in life, there could be lots of different definitions of goals. But in the context of the DSABC mentoring program, what do you think, how do you think a goal would best be described using one of the choices on the screen here in front of you? Okay, everyone, we're going to close the poll in just a minute. Okay, I can see you voting now. We're going to close the poll in 3, 2, and 1. I hope that casting votes in this poll is a lot easier than going out for the midterm elections that we just had. I know that I had to try to get to my little town hall before I came to work that day to cast my vote, but this you can do from the comfort of your chair. Okay, so 33% said goals are a way to help us focus on achieving an outcome, and that's absolutely the case, and that's always the desired result of setting a goal. It's one thing to set the goal, but if you don't really work towards achieving the outcome, nothing changes, right? In the context of DSABC and your mentoring work that you do, it's really all of the above. You could say that all of the definitions that we had on the screen are definitions of goals. It really does depend on the situation. If I'm on a sports team, and boy, you don't want me on your sports teams, I can tell you that. A goal has a very different meaning. It's getting the puck in the net, or it's getting the soccer ball in the net, or a touchdown in football. Those are the meanings of goals in the sporting context. So it really does depend on the situation we're facing. In the context of mentoring, it's really helping students achieve on achieving a particular outcome. All right, so let's go back to our presentation now. We're going to hide this poll. We actually have another polling question for you now. Again, we want to keep you very engaged during our presentation today. Before we proceed with more of the presentation, we wanted to just find out a little bit more about how you might be using goals in your own lives. So, you have, again, a couple of choices on the screen in front of you. Do you have some particular goals that you're working on now? Do you not have any goals? Then your answer would be no. Do you set goals at all? Is that a technique that you use in your life? So please go ahead, use your mouse, and click on the choice that best describes you and where you stand with the use of goal setting in your own lives. It looks like pretty much everyone has voted, so we're going to close the poll now in 3, 2, and 1 minute. All right, 100% of you out there you have a goal in mind, but you haven't really taken any action on it yet. Well, one thing that's very common, and we're all procrastinators, let's all admit that. I'm in the procrastinating bunch myself. 100% of us probably will be very focused on goals a month from now. It'll be just after the new year, and it's very, very common that we set goals for the new year. Something like going to the gym or joining a gym and going 3 times a week. We're all focused, a lot of us, on fitness once the new year comes, after all the Christmas parties and the holiday parties and sitting around and eating lots of rich foods. We're all focused on physical activity and improving our health, it seems, once the first week of the new year comes. So I bet that a lot of you will have goals in mind a month from now, new goals in mind, that is, in addition to the ones you're already thinking about. It is important to set goals at different times in our lives, and let's talk about the benefits of goal setting for the next segment of our presentation. You know, is there a reason why we should be setting goals? Yes, there are lots of benefits to setting goals. For one thing, just the very act of sitting down and writing out a goal will help you achieve more. I know that at work, when I have a lot of projects going on at the same time, I often keep a list. It's kind of like a to-do list for each of those projects. Just by sitting down and writing down some of the key tasks I have to do for those projects, it helps me be more effective in doing my work. And it also helps me, when I have multiple projects, decide how best to use my time. So I become more effective with how I'm using my time. And I'm also more focused, because instead of taking half an hour maybe to work on one thing, I have a better idea of what's a higher priority, and I focus my efforts there. So some of the benefits of setting goals is that you achieve more and you become more focused. The very act of writing down a goal has a significant impact on our subconscious mind, as it turns out, as we're learning more and more about brain research. We're discovering that when you have a goal written down, your subconscious mind is working on achieving that goal all the time. So even when you're sleeping, your subconscious mind is working on helping you achieve that goal. Now, I don't want any of you to go home and tell your spouses that even when they're sleeping, they can achieve their goals, because, hey, that might just be a good excuse for them not to work on their honey-do list. So let's keep that just a secret between us. But writing down your goals definitely helps. You'll also be able to find all kinds of research that shows that setting goals and being more focused on achieving those goals helps you earn more money. And there are many, many studies that show that in life. So that's great on a business level. When you
I just want to touch there that if anything else, that may be a motivator for some of your students, particularly if you're working with high schoolers, to tell them, share that research with them, that setting goals will maybe indeed earn them more money. Money is a motivator.
Money is a great motivator, and it absolutely makes a difference when you use goal-setting techniques. So what is a technique? So if you're working with one of your students, is there some sort of a technique that you could use, or what kind of a process could you use to help them set a goal for themselves? There is a very well-known technique, and you're probably all familiar with it, and it's called the SMART technique. You can help your students be smarter by using SMART goals. And hey, I bet a lot of your students want to work smarter and be seen as smarter. So S-M-A-R-T, each one of those letters stands for one of the words on the right side of the screen. So let's start with S. S stands for specific or significant. What this means is that your goal has to have some sort of detail to make it, to separate it out from other activities that you might be doing. That's what the specific context would be. In the context of significant, it could be something that is of significant value to the individual you're working with or to yourself. It has to be a goal that, or an activity that you're working towards, such as learning a new language. When I went to Italy a few years ago, I spent some time trying to learn some key phrases in the Italian language. That was significant to me at that point in my life. When we work with the letter M, the M in SMART means measurable or meaningful. Measurable is about being able to quantify what the goal is achieving. So maybe it's in the business world, a lot of times the measure is about reducing costs. If you use the other side of the formula, meaningful, again, it could be something in your student's life or in your personal life that is of value to you that would cause you to be focused on making a commitment towards achieving that goal outcome. The A is for attainable. When we're setting goals, it's great to work on improving ourselves or helping our students improve some particular aspect of their lives. But if you set the goal too high, a person could be discouraged from working on the goal very quickly. So attainable is about setting the goal at the right level of challenge. You can also focus on the A being more action-oriented. Action-oriented relates to the fact that setting the goal is just one part of the goal process. If you just write out a goal, put it on a piece of paper, and you never look back at that goal, and you never take any steps towards achieving that goal, you're not going to see a difference in your life or in your students' life. So the A reminds us that we have to take action as every opportunity presents itself to work towards the outcome of our goal. The R is for relevant and rewarding, and both of these are kind of similar. The goal has to be of particular meaning in someone's life in order for us to increase again our chance of committing to it and sticking with the goal over a period of time. And if we don't do that, we're not going to see the outcome, that positive outcome that we were hoping for. And then the T is about time-bound or trackable. In the business world, goals are often set about, say, achieving a cost reduction or maybe implementing a new computer system or technology within a certain period of time. If you, again, use the formula on the right side of these green boxes, T could be for trackable. In your student's life, it could be about trackable, could be the goal is related to something that's going to be achieved within a certain marking period. Maybe within the school year. That's the element of trackable that the SMART formula would represent in that context. So SMART is a formula, is a technique that some people use for writing out goals. Let's take a look at that now in the context of, say, a middle school student that you might be mentoring.
Can I just interrupt and just make an observation? So as mentors, when if you think about using this technique that Michelle just presented, I would just ask that you keep in mind that a couple of the key points that stick out for me particularly is A, for attainable. So you as a mentor may have specific ideas or goals that you want to see your student achieve. But just keep in mind that attainable, so whatever it is that you're working on with your student, make sure it is something that they can achieve and have a series of perhaps small successes rather than stretching them out too far. Or you may not also not have enough information about the student or their particular situation to ensure that that goal that you may be working on together is indeed attainable. And that's where I would encourage you to maybe reach out to the school liaison to review again, what was the reason why the child was referred, and maybe help get some ideas on goal setting with the school social worker. Because I think they would be able to guide you to ensure that you are heading in the right direction with the student.
Thanks, Mary. Thanks, Mary. So putting into practice then the ideas that Mary just shared with us, let's look at a simple SMART goal for a middle school student that you might be able to help them achieve. Will just be 1 second here.
We're just having a technical difficulty, but as we're trying to figure that piece out, I just wanted also to remind you that if you have any questions at any time, you can feel free to type your questions in the question box, and Michelle or I will be able to answer your questions live as we move forward. And I think that we are set.
Thank you, Mary. So as I said, we're going to look at how we use the SMART formula to set a goal, a SMART goal for a student who's in a middle grade who maybe needs to improve their reading capability during the year. So S in the context of this situation could be about improving reading skills. So that's a significant focus for anybody who's in middle school, because if your reading skills are not at the level they need to be, then that student is going to be struggling a lot during the school year. So S could be improve reading skills. M would be to make it meaningful, we added for my grade level. So improve reading skills for my grade level. That's meaningful to the student, again, because we want students to not be frustrated as they're going through school, and reading is going to really help them succeed, reading their textbooks and doing their homework assignments. How do we incorporate A for action-oriented into a goal statement? Well, one action that a student could take is they could do extra reading. Maybe they do that extra reading with you during your weekly meeting. Maybe they do extra reading at home. So they read to a younger sibling or to an older sibling who can help them know whether or not they're reading the words correctly. So doing extra reading is a good action step in this particular goal, because if the student is not taking that action, they're not going to see a difference. How can we make the goal rewarding? Well, how about if you add the words, so I can do my homework with less help? If I'm able to read at the skill level that I should have, if I'm in 6th grade, then that's going to help me be able to do the homework, because the textbooks will be for the 6th grade level and so on. And how could I make this goal trackable to give me the sense that I'm going to do this within a certain period of time, which sort of introduces a healthy sort of pressure there to achieve the goal? Well, we just said we will do this by the end of the school year. So if I'm a middle school student and I want to raise my reading level either to the current grade or to be very proficient in reading at my grade level, then I could set a goal, or you could work with your student, or even sort of just keep in mind that the goal might be, using the SMART formula, improve reading skills for my grade level by doing extra reading so I can do my homework with less help by the end of the school year. And as Mary said, you want to sort of understand what the context of the student is and what their situation is so that you can best be equipped to fulfill your part of the mentoring relationship with them. Reading, I know, is something that a lot of our mentors do with their students. And I know in my personal life, I enjoy reading a lot, and I was so excited as a student when I was able to pick up more and more advanced levels of books and read them for myself, because I was in a big family and I didn't have time to read for myself. So I can just imagine how excited your students will be if they can raise their reading level. Going back to another point that Mary made, it is really important to keep the goal attainable, because if the goal is too difficult for ourselves as individuals when we're working on goals, or for the student, we're going to get discouraged and we're going to stop working on that goal. And it might be hard to get somebody to go back at a later point in time to help them work on that goal again. I heard a terrific story last week about how important it is to break goals down into manageable steps. Before we get into that, let's do one more polling question. This will be the final polling question for today's session, and then I'll tell you the little story that I heard about goal setting. So we have another poll coming up, and this time, this polling question is about what you can do to help you. What are some extra things you can do to help your students achieve goals? in addition to using the SMART formula, what points that you're seeing on the screen now would help your student achieve their goals? If the goals are written down or not, what else in just general terms can help make the mentoring relationship successful or help the student feel more successful? Okay, I think just about everyone has voted. Okay, so we're going to close the poll, and I can see that a lot of people see the importance of reviewing goals every mentoring session, and that's absolutely correct. It's a good idea to sort of reframe what it is you're trying to achieve each week, because it helps, again, focus our energies during that hour you're spending on what the outcome is eventually going to be. And it's really, really important to praise the student often, even for the smallest improvements, because that helps build their confidence and it helps keep them excited to work on their goals and to be comfortable with you in the mentoring relationship, because if you're helping to build their confidence, they're going to trust you more and more, and you're going to see even better outcomes when you have that level of relationship with your students. So I was saying that I have a terrific little story about why setting goals and making them attainable, keeping the goals small and building on those small successes is important. So the story that I wanted to share, with you was something that I heard on the radio last week. I was driving home the afternoon before Thanksgiving, and it was snowy, and I was really nervous because I live in sort of a hilly area. And the story on the radio it was a call-in radio show, and they were talking about survival skills. And as I was gripping the steering wheel and my knuckles were turning white, I was trying to listen to the radio as well. And they were talking about a situation where a fisherman, it was a Connecticut lobster fisherman, had fallen overboard about 3 o'clock in the morning. He was out fishing for lobsters. So he was out in the water. It was really cold, and he had to try and get out of the water so that he wouldn't freeze to death and drown. But none of his crewmates could hear him. So he's out in the water, and he was able to grab hold of something and float along in the water. And he said one of the things that helped him survive was that he broke things down into really small steps. And he would say to himself that the fisherman's name was Ernie Hazard. Hazard, hey, he was in a life or death situation, so it's interesting that he had that last name. But he said to himself, I have to just focus on half an hour at a time. He didn't focus on getting through the night or getting through the day or getting back on the boat. He said, what can I do in the next half hour? And that was really, really key, he said, to him surviving that situation. And when he got through each half hour, he gave himself a little pat on the back. He was out there in the dark. It was cold. It was scary. But as he got through each half hour, he said, hey, Ernie, you did a good job. Now, what am I going to do for the next half hour? Because I need to do something else now to get me through the next half hour to make sure I'm going to survive this situation. And he was on the radio show talking about, sort of this little mind game he played with himself. And I thought that story was a great illustration of how goal setting can be applied in so many different situations in our lives. And it really worked for him, and it led to a really significant, successful outcome. All right, so continuing with our presentation, this is a little technique you can use with your students if you want to write out the goal. This is it's almost like a treasure hunt, a map. You would use this little sheet to write the overall goal at the bottom of the screen. So you would write the overall goal here in the bottom, and these larger bubbles represent little rewards that could be given to the students, say by their parent, as they're working on achieving their goal. Because again, we want to keep things in small, manageable steps. Maybe it would be half an hour of time on their video game, because we know kids love their video games. Maybe it would be a new iTunes. Maybe it would be a song they could download to their iPod. So this is just a simple little sheet that you can use instead of having a very formal written goal statement, you could use that SMART principle to map it out on a sheet like this. It's just a more fun way for students to focus on goal setting. So we're coming near to the end of our time today. So to just recap some of the ideas.
So I just want to interrupt for 1 second. I think that I will have that sheet available. So if any of the mentors are interested in using that sheet, you can just email me, or maybe I can just go ahead and send it out to all of our attendees today. So that if it's something an activity that you think that you would like to do with your student, you'll have that tool available to you.
Thanks, Mary. So what did we cover today? Well, we talked about goals. We talked about the definition of goals. For the DSABC mentoring program, goals are a tool that you can use to help achieve positive outcomes with your students. It could also be something that you use in your personal life to help you achieve all those goals you may be setting in a month's time. You can use the SMART formula to help make the goal a SMART goal, to make sure that you have all the right elements in place when you set goals. And of course, break the goals down into simple steps, because you want to build on each little success to help keep yourself or your student committed to working on that goal, to achieving those positive outcomes. And you want to provide lots of encouragement. So every little success and change for the better that you're seeing, you want to mention that, because those acts of encouragement will help your students stick with it and keep working on towards their positive outcomes. I want to commend all of you for taking the time to be a mentor and give of yourselves and of your time. What you give comes back to you, I'm sure, 1,000-fold, and that reflects the wise quote that we see from Buddha here on the screen. When you light a lamp for somebody, it also brightens your path. And that's what you're doing as mentors. So, thank you all for your time today. And in closing, I want to wish you all the very best for happy and healthy holidays. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I do want to open it up for questions. If anyone has any questions or anything that they'd like to bring up for discussion. I think Michelle gave us a very wonderful and concise way of thinking about setting goals, and a couple of tools that we can use as mentors. I know as mentors, you're not primarily focused on academics. So you're thinking about goals. It doesn't have to be necessarily about reading or math scores or anything like that, because that may not be what the goal is for your relationship with your mentee. But, I was thinking about some things, for example, if you're working on social skills, and, you can break down, I think, some very specific goals to help that student improve some of their social skills. And those are attainable, and I think that you can notice them week from week and reward the kids as you see them perhaps, make eye contact with you, or shake your hand, or greet you in a polite manner. So those are some ways to think about some of our softer goals that we work on as mentors. So just something to think about as we move forward. Are there any questions? Oh, yes. So we have no questions today, but Michelle has been kind enough to offer us some fun giveaways. A wonderful book called Eat That Frog, 21 Great Ways to Stop Procrastinating and Get More Done in Less Time. We certainly can all use that this time of year, for sure. So I will be distributing these to our first 3 attendees of today's webinar. Thank you for coming on time and thinking about goal setting for our mentors. So again, thank you all for participating. If you would like to refer back to this webinar in the future, or if you have colleagues or fellow mentors who are unable to attend today, please know that all of our webinars, including this one, are on our website, www.dsabcmentors.org. If you click on the resource tab, we have an archive of all of our webinars for future reference. And I also very much want to thank Michelle for her time and effort in putting this presentation together and her wonderful support of the program. And on behalf of DSABC, myself and my colleague Ellen Weiss, we want to wish you all a very happy holiday and everything best for the new year. Thank you.